Hello, my name's Carol Sherriff, and I'm going to be taking part in a series of conversations with Adam Kahane. Adam is a designer of organizational processes. He's a director of Reos Partners, a social enterprise that specializes in helping groups work together. And he's also author of a number of books about collaboration. And he's writing at this very moment his first book dedicated to facilitation. So I'll be talking to him about his views on collaboration and about his new book. And Adam's view on facilitation and collaboration are quite broad. So you can look forward to finding out some new ways of thinking and positioning facilitation. So enjoy this, the first in the series. Adam, let's just dive straight in. When people heard that I was going to interview you, one of the things they wanted me to ask is, when as a facilitator do you not seek to collaborate? And I think, the idea was that as facilitators, actually what we think we're doing to groups is helping them collaborate. And I know you have some very clear views on that. So can you tell me, a little, when do we not collaborate? When do we, when don't we?
Well, you'll find that I have clear views on everything and I change them all the time. So, but no, I think it's a crucial question for two reasons. On the one hand, my definition of facilitation is it's helping people collaborate. So I don't think there's anything else facilitators do, and I'll come back to that in a second. But for me, it's crucial to understand that collaborating is not the only option. And in a way, if you think about it for a minute, it's obvious. We can't collaborate with everybody about everything. So the real question is, when do we collaborate and when don't we collaborate? And the way I look at it is that when you're faced with some situation that you wish was otherwise, that it's not how you want it to be, or you think it could be better, then you actually have four choices. Yeah. Firstly, you can just try to force them to wait for them to be the way you want them to be, regardless of what other people want. And I think about this, well, about all the options, but this is a very common option. Most of the time, when there's something we want to get done, if we can, we just do it. So I'm writing this book. One of my colleagues said, "Oh, great, a book on collaboration. Can't I write it with you?" And I said, no, actually, I want to do it on my own. I'm allowed to. It's fun. I can make it the way I want it to be. And so the first option of forcing is important, just making it the way you want it to be, because you can. The second option is, it's not the way I want it to be, but I can't make it the way I want it to be, and I adapt. And again, this is a very common option. I think probably we go through most of the day adapting. It's cloudy outside, it's cold. I wish it was warmer, but I can't make it warmer. So if I'm going to go outside, I better put a coat on. So I'm adapting. And the third option is, things are not the way I want it to be. I can't make them the way I want them to be. I'm not willing to live with it as it is, and so I exit. And what that means, going somewhere warmer, or quitting my job, or getting a divorce, these are exiting. And so in my perspective, collaborating is the fourth option. Now, some people may go to it first, some people may go to it last, but it's one of the four options. And it's crucial to realize that and to be intentional. When are you going to collaborate? And so going back to where I started, the reason I define facilitating as helping people collaborate is I don't think helping people to force things through is facilitating.
Yeah, I can remember an experience when I was inexperienced of being invited in as a facilitator, and what the key agency wanted me to do is get the other
Yeah.
organizations to agree. So it's a very helpful framework to think,
Yeah.
What are they wanting me to do here?
Yeah. No, this is great. And somebody told me in South Africa that the expression people use for this situation is facilipulation. So it's important because, because I think that pretending you're trying to help people work things out where you're actually trying to get them to do something predetermined is not facilitation. What I've noticed when I give talks about facilitation is there's one question I always get. Somebody will ask, how do you get people to ... And I've started to wait for that question because I think it betrays something really crucial, which is that I think in general, you can't get anybody to do anything at all. That's certainly my experience with being married and having kids and grandkids and so-called subordinates at work, is my capacity to get people to do things is almost zero. And when I'm in a facilitating role where I have no formal hierarchical authority, I have zero capacity to get people to do things. So, but the fact that this question comes up so often to me is significant, and it betrays a common mindset. So I think there's another way to look at it, which has occurred to me only recently, which is that actually my experience in working with groups, including very diverse groups who don't necessarily agree with or like or trust each other, is they actually want to work together. They think they either want to or they think they need to. But if they've come together, it's probably because that's the case, that they want to or they think they need to. And so what I realized, the job of the facilitator is not to get people to work together. I think the job of the facilitator is to help people remove the obstacles in their way. And this for me is a completely different image of facilitating. It's not about pushing people to do something they don't want to do in general. It's about removing the obstacles that are in their way.
So taking that a bit further, another idea I ended up liking in your book, I'm going to give a little plug to your book at this point. So collaborating with the enemy, and that's primarily the book we're talking about. When I first saw that title, I thought, no, I don't really want anything to do with this, because I kind of come from a background where we see all participants as equal and everything like that. So how can they be your enemy? And then I realized again, you have a different view, certainly to the one I came with. And I think you call it enemifying, where we're us and certain people are other, and them is how I have internalized. And I thought that was really helpful in what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, well, the title is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and lots of people have had the reaction that you've had. But the serious part of the title is that I think many people, I don't know whether it's most, but many people consider others to be their adversaries or opponents or enemies, even if they don't admit it. And so I'm making a couple of points there. Firstly, this tendency to treat people who are not doing what we want them to do as our enemies is not helpful. I'm not saying we don't ever have enemies. people who are trying to do us harm. I wouldn't go that far, but I do think that most of us tend to think we have more enemies than we really do. So that's the process of enemifying, of constructing the other as an enemy. The way this comes up in facilitation, you mentioned it the other day, is thinking that those people are being difficult. So this is the signal when we refer to it as those people. And sometimes they are, but usually they're just doing something we wish they wouldn't do, and they have a perfectly good reason. If we investigated a little bit, we could figure out what it was. But the other point I'm making is that it is possible to work with people that we don't agree with or like or trust. Mm-hmm. And the idea that if people don't all agree, they can't work together is completely wrong, and a big impediment to making progress on lots of things.
Yeah. So one of the things that, I think from that, and it's quite uncomfortable, because in some ways I think there are two things that facilitators sort of shy away from. And one is the notion that all this is true for us as well. So I wonder, how, as a facilitator, do you check yourself from not, creating that enemy? Or do you do that, or do you just recognize, hey, I'm human, I'm doing this?
Well, I'm as irritable as the next person, probably a little more irritable and grumpy than average. So this is an impediment for me. Is that I'm facilitating, and I'll think somebody's being difficult or irritating, or and I'll get annoyed, or I'll show that I'm annoyed. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen so often anymore. And I know the sort of people who who I find irritating. And it's kind of an obvious competitive thing. It's usually men my age or a little older. So I can notice, oh, I'm doing that thing again, and take a deep breath and realize that, well, that almost all of the time, either it's just something going on in me that I just need to put aside, or the person I'm dealing with really is unhappy about the way things are going for some reason that I need to understand and deal with. But just imagining that they're just trying to be difficult is almost never the case.
Yeah. No, I like that, because I always think when you come across a new idea and it strikes you in facilitation, if you're not careful, you put it into practice, forgetting everything else Yeah. So yeah. The idea all of a sudden you're enemifying other people, actually, yeah, they might be irritated with you, and you might be getting irritated is also check there.
Yeah, so there's a few more things. I think that sometimes when you're facilitating, people in the group will decide they don't like you, the facilitator. And it could be that you're doing something wrong, which is why it's sometimes helpful to have another facilitator, and you can take turns when they get irritated with one of you. Or it may be that they're enemifying the facilitator because the facilitator reminds them of somebody, or they don't like old white men or young black women or whatever. so anyhow, these are normal dynamics.
Thank you so much, Adam, for being with us today. It's been really, really interesting. And also thank you to all of those watching and listening. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation. I also hope you're inspired, and I'm sure you have your own views on Adam and my conversation. If you'd like to take part in that wider conversation, please feel absolutely free to post your comments on the Wilson Sherriff YouTube site, or connect with us on Twitter using @CarolSherriff and @AdamKahane. I really look forward to hearing from you.